Hey guys, welcome back to the No Holds Barred Network with another episode of Under the Ropes. I'm your host as always, the EVP Giggles, the Heartbreak Chick, the Queen of the Indies. And today I'm joined by, I guess, the chef. I'm like, this has got the chef, LowLife Louie Luis Ramos. How are ya?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me. It is my honor and pleasure to be on today. Thank you.
I'm so excited for you on. And actually, I feel like we should just it's not going to be an Under the Rope series because I feel like we got cooking with you today. So,
This will be the ultimate shoot. You're going to have family walking in on me. You're going to have me cooking, me drinking alcohol. It's all good.
I'm all for it. Like, seriously. So, anyway, guys, if you're new to the channel here at Under the Ropes, I interview everything independent wrestling, whether it's wrestlers, behind the scenes, referees, anything independent wrestling, I got you covered. If you guys have questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. I'm sure Lewis will be very happy to answer any questions that you have. So, while he's making meatloaf, right? That's what you're making?
That's for tomorrow. I'm making some chicken Alfredo pasta today.
All right, well, guys, this podcast is ending right now because I'm going over there to go eat, just so you guys know.
That's what for me. The more the better.
Seriously, it's like the Latin thing, and then it's like with me, I have the half Latin side, I have the half Italian side, so I'm all about all the eating and all that fun stuff.
Listen, it takes a lot of food to get me this big, okay?
Oh my.
Listen, I'm not skinny for a reason.
Oh my goodness. Hey, I feel you on that because food is bae. That's all I'm gonna say to people.
Yeah.
Food is bae.
100%.
So I don't know. I don't think I could do it out it. There's just too many great things out there to eat. So, but all right. So I like to open up every interview for if there are people that do not know you, but I would love for you to tell them like how you got into professional wrestling.
All right, here's the story, and I've told this many times, but I love telling it. My father, who also happened to be named Luis Ramos, tried to learn professional wrestling in Puerto Rico in like the 60s.
Mm-hmm.
Failed miserably, and moved back to New York to Sunset Park, Brooklyn. He met my mom. They had me, and my mom and dad. My dad's no longer with us. My relationship with my dad was terrible, but he's the reason I believe that I love wrestling so much because I think it was in his blood and it ended up in mine. My mother always tells the story that when I was 10 months old, they would put wrestling on the television, and I would watch it, and that would be the only thing that would keep me calm and would keep my mind and focus for any length of time. Everything else I had no interest in watching, no interest in viewing, no interest in anything.
Mm-hmm.
Wrestling was the only thing that kept me calm, that I was enthralled with, and it's been like that ever since. And when I was in high school, I picked up a wrestling magazine, and you saw the explosion matches that were happening in Japan when FMW started in 1991. I was a freshman in high school, buying all these magazines, reading about all these things, and then reading about these independent shows that had Abdullah the Butcher, who I used to watch on TV growing up on Channel 41 in New York, on the World Wrestling Council, and like the Georgia, the World Class, on the UHF 60. Now I just aged myself. UHF 68, when you literally had to walk up to the television and turn the knob, and to get the other channels, you had to flip to the U and then go all the way around till it broke.
Wow.
And I'd watch any type of wrestling that was on there. I would watch.
Mm-hmm.
I've loved wrestling my entire life, and those magazines were like the catalyst, because almost as I was leaving high school in '95, because I got left back a few times, I read about ECW,
Mm-hmm.
and noticing that this kind of madness and lunacy was happening 100 miles from where I lived. I mean, it wasn't in Japan, it wasn't in Florida, it wasn't in Memphis, it was in Philadelphia, which was literally a bus ride away from Brooklyn, New York.
Right.
And at that point was when I decided to forego my scholarships that I had. I actually was a very good student. I scored a 1375 on my SAT, and I had a lot of scholarship offers. I threw them all away to rapid bat and barbed wire, and I wanted to be the next Ian and Axel Ryan. So
Wow.
that's how I got into professional wrestling. After that, I ended up, after high school, I ended up looking for a gym, and I stumbled onto Arena Puerto Rico, which was a small venue in Brooklyn, New York, that was doing kind of like underground stuff, but also professional stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And Jason Knight was involved with them for a long time. Pete McKay, who used to do ring crew for WWE, was involved with them. And a guy named Homicide.
Mm.
Homicide would become instrumental in training myself and some of the guys that I brought into, because I was doing like a little public access show at the Arena Puerto Rico called Insane World Wrestling. And a part of Insane World Wrestling was, and I know if anybody who's watching this, they know their wrestling. Low-Key, obviously, he's been around the world. Cabal in WWE, Senshi in TNA, and Monster Mac, who was one half of the most decorated indie tag team of all time, the Hit Squad, all throughout the turn of the century with his partner Dan Moff. Both of them started with me. Also Mason Buffy, who teamed as the Christopher Street Connection many years ago all over the Northeast. They even wrestled for 0-1 Japan. They started with me. Mason's actually my son's godfather. And all four of us, were, along with a couple other guys that either didn't have the balls to make it or just didn't, weren't cut out to make it. We started on this crazy journey from IWW. We were noticed by Homicide, and the guys that he ran with was Jay Lover, Lathon Tower of Torture, Manslaughter, Shaolin the Assassin, Lalo, Julius Smokes, also known as J-Train. They helped us out. They were instrumental in teaching us the fundamentals. Then a gentleman by the name of Bobby Lombardi, God rest his soul, opened up the Wrestling Doghouse, first in Howard Beach and then in Jamaica, Queens. They had 2 iterations, and we were there for about 4 years between the both locations. And that's where I learned most of my professional wrestling, not just the in-the-ring stuff that I learned with Homicide at Arena Puerto Rico and at the Doghouse, but just the business as a whole, how to behave, the respect factor, the brotherhood, all that we learned at the Doghouse, and I will be eternally grateful for that place. And that's how I started. That was my home, and 20-something years later, a lot of guys that came out of the Doghouse are still wrestling.
Yeah, that they definitely are. That's funny because it's like you bring up Steve Mack, and I've had him on the podcast too, and that was a great conversation that I had with him too. So I love talking to everybody in the independent scene, people that have been in wrestling for years, and even like the new up and comers. But it's great. So even like you telling this story, and it's like all the names that you're dropping, like a bunch of them. It's like, again, I've had on the podcast, or dream interviews that I would love to have on the podcast, or people who even retired and even came out of retirement to still continue to be wrestling, which is crazy. Yeah. Because I don't think, I guess in wrestling, retirement is never really retirement, right?
I've retired 3 or 4 times due to different reasons, but just to mention Steve Mack again, Steve Mack is more to me than a partner or somebody that came up with. Steve Mack is as close to me as a brother.
Yeah.
And big shout out to Steve. I love you, bro. And if it wasn't for him, I would have stayed retired a long time ago. He was one of the reasons why I came back out of retirement back in 2012. So big shout out to him. I owe him a lot, and I thank him a lot. He's always saying, if it wasn't for IWW, yeah, maybe that's the case. But if it wasn't for you, I'd fucking be 500 pounds eating 3 bags of Doritos a day. So thank you, Steve. I love you.
We love food. This is the food podcast. Now let me stop. All right. So, where'd my questions go? Okay. So my next question is, it's funny because, again, we have all types of fans all over the place. So, in your opinion, for a fan that's never seen you before, what is the go check out right now, on YouTube or Fight or IWTV? What's the match they should go check out?
For anybody that knows or holds professional wrestling in high regard and has studied their history, because I know there's probably a lot of younger fans on here, but anybody that has studied the history of professional wrestling should know 2 names, Terry Funk and Abdullah the Butcher. Mm-hmm. Those are 2. The word legend gets thrown around. People call me that. I hate when people call me that because I'm definitely not. Terry Funk and Abdullah the Butcher are bona fide, true to form, living, thank God they're both still with us, living legends. And I had the honor and the privilege of wrestling both of them. Abdullah the Butcher actually 3 times. Terry Funk actually, if you've met me in person. You see
Yeah.
that my front tooth is half chipped.
Yeah.
Terry Funk knocked half the tooth out of my mouth.
Ouch.
So, yeah, no, not ouch, yeah, but that's like the most badge of honor for me. That's like if you ever watch Married with Children, Al Bundy talks about the 4 touchdowns in a single game in his
Yeah.
high school football championship game. That's my Al Bundy 4 touchdown story. Terry Funk whipping a chair at me somewhere in Connecticut and ripping my tooth out of my mouth.
Oh my
And,
goodness.
and that's why I never got it fixed.
It's like that memorabilia like thing.
Yeah, it's one of those big moments in life, not just in wrestling, but in life.
Yeah.
But so for anybody that's like an old school wrestling fan, if they want to see that I've been in there with like the real deal, you could check that out, or you could check out the GCW. I forget the name of the show, but I ended up wrestling Matt Tremont, Zandig, A Date with Destiny. Zandig, oh, my son is with me. My son's also big into the wrestling, and he's already training, so it's a beautiful thing. But yeah, the Date with Destiny, GCW, Howell. It was August 2016. Zandig was supposed to wrestle Matt Tremont. He couldn't make it. And I was called by the promoters, Brett Lauderdale and the other promoter at the time, Danny DeMonto. And they asked me if I could fill in and wrestle Matt in the main event. And I was like under medication. I was battling some kind of infection. And I said, fuck it, let's do it. And I went out there, and the match is one of my favorites of all time. But my favorite match of all time, there's two. There's one, and there's one against a masked wrestler named Del Replay. That it was at a show after the pandemic hit at H2O. That one's not on YouTube, but it will be one day, and I'll explain why eventually. But the second one is my Survival of the Sickest round 1 match with Jeff Cannonball. It is my favorite match for a number of reasons. And Jeff Cannonball is one of my favorite opponents, and we've had some bloodbaths. So if anybody wants to check out, those matches are on YouTube along with a lot of other stuff. But I just love doing this. So,
Yeah.
And
I love it. I definitely love it. And again, like names are being dropped. You've seen them here on the Under the Rope series. Jeff Cannonball has been on here, and you bring it up H2O, which we'll get into in a minute. But I want to shout out because Matt Awesome's in the chat, and he says, "I'm digging the Four Locos can." Yes, my layout. I had to do like the cameo going on with the blue for the can of the Four Locos, and then I had to put the gigantic Four Locos can on the layout because it only made sense, right? It only made sense. So. And then
usually I would be drinking a Four Loko as we speak, but the new seltzer craze is taking over a lot of the liquor stores around the world, and finding a Four Loko is getting harder and harder, and it's making me really, really upset. All the liquor stores by me, the Krausers and the big time liquor stores, Buy Rights and all that.
Yeah.
They really are not carrying Four Loko anymore, and it's freaking terrible.
Terrible. We need to get you a sponsorship of like Four Locos. Like, I'm surprised this hasn't happened. We talked about this even with Alex Zane. He needs to be sponsored by Taco Bell. So now I have you on. We need to get you sponsored by Four Locos.
I think that me and him would be a great tag team. Four Loko and Taco Bell are my birthday. If you look at any of my birthday posts and my birthday's December 11th. Go look at my posts for the last 10 years on December 11th. It's nothing but Taco Bell and Four Loko.
I love it. He also said, I was at the Homicide Tribute show, and it was one of my girlfriend's first shows that I wasn't in, and she witnessed MDK pizza cutter your head. She bugged out.
All right. I'm going to shoot on that for 1 minute. I'm glad that this was brought up. I am so bummed, and to this day I have to live with the fact that match ended prematurely. Wrestling Nick Gage was one of the highlights that I had wanted in my career. If you go back into deathmatch history, the original generation of American deathmatch guys was Ian Rotten, Axel Rotten, Balls Mahoney, Madman Pondo, Corp, Too Tough Tony, guys like that. And right behind them was myself and Nick Gage. And out of those generations, the only ones left are Pondo, Gage, and myself. So Wrestling Gage, for 20 years our paths ran parallel, but we've never crossed. And to get that opportunity at the show that was, that was there to give my mentor and the man who I was wrestling because of, his props was like the ultimate tip of the cap that I got to main event that show. And I have to live with the fact that the match ended prematurely. That what I do is deathmatch wrestling. I am a deathmatch wrestler. I am not a wrestler that does death matches. I always say that I am a deathmatch wrestler first and foremost. And stuff happens when you do death matches. And actually, a lot of people don't realize this, and I have a picture to prove it. When he cut me with the pizza cutter, he actually slices my temporal artery.
Oh, wow.
And the bleeding was horrendous. There's a picture that Drew Chaos took where you actually see the artery in the picture. And it was a pretty bad cut. It was 4 inches long and a 1/4 inch wide.
Oh, my.
And very deep, obviously, for it to cut the artery. And, of course, the match had to go home. The fact that it took place in New York with an athletic commission that was the biggest bunch of assholes on planet Earth, that put the bad mojo on the match from jump. Them trying to tell us what to do and taking away a lot of our arsenal. I think that I'm a firm believer in positive energy and negative energy. And the negative energy that they brought to the match, I think, contributed to what happened and what occurred. And there's only one thing that I want to do before I die, and that is a rematch with Nick Gage in New Jersey at GCW, his home fed, with no restrictions, with no rules, with no bullshit.
Ooh, I'm all for it. Give it to me. Let me throw some money down. Like, seriously. But I feel you. I definitely feel it. Living in New York and, seeing that, I've watched shows get shut down in the middle. It's terrible. I feel like that's why I've been in Jersey a lot lately, because the shows are just better. Not saying that New York doesn't have great shows, because that's what everybody says. Oh, you're in the heart. You're in New York. You go to great shows. And there really are. But then you have your restrictions. So you can't be watching these death matches. You're not going to see them here in New York. So
New York sucks. New York sucks. Back in 2011, I was wrestling Frankie Stars for a company called FTW here in New York, and the match was stopped when we started. He broke a cable box over my face and started cutting me with a scissor outside the ring, and they immediately stopped the match, which was like about 6 minutes old, and that's when I knew that New York started to suck. Because back in 2003, I was working for Frank Goodman, USA Pro, UXW, in the original Elks Lodge where ECW used to run. And boy, we would go crazy. I'd bleed all over the place. I'd tear that sucker down all the way till midnight. And it was amazing. But I guess as the commissions and all that shit started, coming back into play, it messed everything up. And that really sucks. But what can you do? We have Jersey. I'm a New York boy. Born and bred, Sunset Park, for real.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm glad that I get to ply my trade in Jersey now, and I live in Jersey. I bought a home. My wife, my kids try to do better for them than I lived in the fucking ghetto when they called Sunset Park Gunset in the 80s. You know what I mean? So
yeah, definitely.
Now, yeah.
I definitely feel you on that. So I want to ask this because I know somebody asked me, where did the nickname LowLife Louie come from?
Oh man, oof. It was funny because it came just from an idea from The Simpsons, believe it or not, from an idea. Wait a minute, I know my wife walked in. I heard her coming home from work. Where is she? I told her I was doing this shit. She's been working all these crazy hours. Hold up, you want to? This is how real it gets. I'm going to shoot about the bills here. Fucking is claiming that we didn't pay our sewer bill. When we know full well we pay our bills on time, that's why we still got the goddamn house. Yeah, but me and my wife, we try our best to keep this roof over our head. So the damn towns here in Jersey, they complain about everything. Hey, you need $8 for your dog license. You need to do this for the sewer. It's a pain in the butt, but that's the cost of living now, and I'm sure, as you just moved yourself.
Yeah.
The cost of living everywhere is through the roof.
Yeah.
But to get back to the name, LowLife Louie, my original partner was, like I said, from the Christopher Street Connection. He wrestled as Mace Mendoza. Then he wrestled first just as Mace. Then he was Mace Mendoza. He was, like I said, he's part of my family. I love him to death. He's like another guy that was like a brother to me for many years. we were trying to come up with names. We actually called our tag team the Sons of Anarchy, and this is like 18 years before the TV show, so we had it first. But anyway, we were watching The Simpsons. And have you ever watched The Simpsons?
Yeah.
They have the movies that they watched. That guy McBain.
Mm-hmm.
He was like an Arnold Schwarzenegger type movie character in the Simpsons universe. Anyway, McBain's biggest rival was a drug dealer named Mendoza. So I was a good guy at the time when we were doing the underground IWW stuff I mentioned earlier. So Mace called himself Mace Mendoza after that character from The Simpsons.
Right.
So when I went heel and turned with him and we started teaming, I needed to find something that rhymed with L. So we're sitting down watching TV, and we're like nothing L, lousy Louie, L, loser Louie, Louie. Finally, we're watching the news, and some guy says, "Oh, these drug dealing bunch of low lives." So I'm like, "LowLife Louie, that is LowLife Louie." So we were MM and LL, Mace Mendoza and LowLife Louie. And the LowLife Louie name stuck, and it's been, holy crap, 22 years. Because I wrestled first as goofy ass War Machine, but my first ever professional match took place the day of the infamous Mike Tyson bite fight, and I wrestled under a mask as the Jackal. So I wrestled as the Jackal, as the War Machine, but eventually once I became LowLife Louie, I think towards the end of '98, it stuck and it never went away.
There you have it. I love it. I love the origins of names. Like, it's always interesting to hear where like a nickname came from. So thanks for that. Oh, look at that food, man.
That plate of food, but that's chicken Alfredo pasta. Maybe I'll take a picture tomorrow of the meatloaf.
Yes, please.
The meatloaf tomorrow. We're having like a mini celebration because my daughter finally got her tickets. She graduates to the 6th grade next year, so very happy for my daughter.
That's so great. I love it. I love it. I feel like we're gonna have to do like a potluck over at H2O.
My wife will bring macaroni and cheese. I'll bring a meatloaf. Let's do this.
I got the desserts. I got the cookies and all that stuff. I mean, you guys didn't see it. I mean, I posted like footage of me at H2O, guys, but I came in with like 2 trays of cookies for 2 different days. I purposely split them because I knew certain people weren't going to be at the Saturday show, but we're going to be at the Sunday show and vice versa. So I took 1 tray in and then, I brought it in. And then it was funny because I went up to somebody and I was like, "Here, you want a cookie?" They're like, "Well, what's in it?" I was like, "What do you mean, what's in it? It's chocolate chip cookies." They're like, "Is there drugs in it?" I was like, "What the hell?" I was like, you guys are a mess.
I'll take cookies. We'll go without drugs. You can drop LSD in my cookie. I don't care. Now we'll get some alcohol as we're talking because now my family's here. Now I'm comfortable and I'm happy now.
And you're eating and you're good. There you go.
This is Smirnoff Smash. They're actually not as strong or powerful as Four Loko, but I like to drink them. My wife loves when I don't drink Four Loko. She hates when I drink Four Loko. But that's the gimmick, and that's been the gimmick for many years. She's saying, but now, like I was telling you, they're very hard to find nowadays. So I've settled into these smashes. Mm-hmm. The red, white, and blue ones, but it only comes out between Memorial Day and 4th of July, so I keep the refrigerator full of them, but I'm having this one now. This is usually good for breakfast. It's orange flavored.
Okay. It was funny because April's in the chat, and she had a fan tweet for you. She goes, "What's your favorite Four Lokos flavor, and how many have you drank in one shot?"
My favorite flavor by far is fruit punch, followed by black, blue raspberry, and lemonade. And the day we actually met, Homicide had to carry me back to the car because I shotgunned 4 Lokos. Shit.
I can't.
Anyway, big shout out to Marcus Crane. I'm wearing my Marcus Crane t-shirt.
I love it. I love it.
Guys, One time me and Marcus Crane were shotgunning 4 Loco Blacks in the parking lot before Tournament of Survival 2, 3. And anyway, I ended up passing out from all the alcohol I consumed. It was really bad.
Oh.
But yeah, I needed an IV that day. That's how much alcohol I drank.
Oh,
Out in the
jeez.
street, But I think the record, my record consumption for 4 Loco in one day was 8.
Oh, wow. Damn. And April said we still got 4 Locos in Brooklyn. So, just so you know.
I'm coming home. I'm home.
I'm dead. Okay, let's talk about evolvement in wrestling since like we were kids. Okay, so we had WWF, right? We had all different types, right? And we had like the Monday Night Raw and stuff. So now we insanely evolved through like 30 years, right? Like now we have apps, now we have YouTube, we have, just different styles. We have intergender. We have death matches. We have so many different types of wrestling. Like, what does that mean to someone like you who, like you said, you grew up as a kid watching this, but like, what does it mean to you to watch this evolvement?
It's amazing. I was talking to my wife maybe like a couple of weeks ago. We were sitting on the couch, and we were about to watch GCW. Where I worked for GCW, big supporters of the company. Even when I'm not on the shows, we watch them. The TOS last week was freaking phenomenal. And we're settling in to watch it. And I'm like, man, I remember the days where you would have a wrestling show that if it wasn't on pay-per-view, like it was or an independent or even like a NWA show from that didn't make it onto pay-per-view, you'd have to wait till either a tape trader found it and you linked up with him and traded something with him or bought a copy of him, or Ralph Feinstein, who was RF Video. A lot of people give Ralph Feinstein a bad rap, and listen, Ralph Feinstein and his friend Doug Gentry, God rest his soul, 2 guys that were great to me early in my career, so I respect both of them. But Feinstein was the man, and that was one of the reasons again that I started watching ECW, because RF Video used to put out the ECW TV product when it would air like late night on MSG. He'd have it all on the tape. You'd get it, but of course it took like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month sometimes to get it. So it's March and I'm getting February's ECW. Now I'm getting like 37 shows on IWTV in one day, which is amazing. And it goes to show you the progression of technology, media, but it's also in my opinion, there's only one negative, and that it's so easy. It makes the generation go me now, and when you can't have something right away, it's like, boo, why can't I have it?
Yeah.
So other than that, it's great for the product, it's great for exposure, it's great for young guys making their name, because they get to work in all these other places and it gets to be seen whether you're working in Japan. The shows, they wrestled, in 16 hours after they wrestled, the shows were on Fight TV. Years ago, like I said, you'd have to wait a month to get the latest FMW Onita exploding match. You have to wait about a month or 2 before the tape traders got their hands on it. So literally, that's the plus, and the minus again is the instant gratification of the whole process.
Right, definitely. Like I remember going to Blockbuster or West Coast Video, whatever it is, renting the VHS tapes, and it's just crazy. But you're right. But it's nice too just to have that it's like, or something live that we can actually watch that's on an app now if you can't get to the place, or if you live in a different state or a different country, or if something you want to support. So with that being said, let's go into H2O. Okay, as you guys know, I've been focusing completely on H2O lately. I love H2O. So it's been a home for me. It's been a home for you. We love Matt Tremont. He's amazing. But let's dive into that. I mean, like you said, you've had matches with him. Now you're working with him and all his students, and then even like all the vets that are working and helping the kids who are amazing. It's a lot. This is the upcoming promotion, I feel like.
I'm very happy to be working with H2O. Matt Tremont is a guy that reached out to me many moons ago when he first started through a message, and he said, "Hey man, I've been a big fan. I've watched you on video. I wish I could wrestle you one day." And I say, "Hey kid, man, you never know, it can happen." 3 years later, Loudy, Jeff Kane Loudy, was running On Point Wrestling, and his main event was excuse me, Matt Tremont versus Homicide. So of course, you know, the connection with Homicide being there, I went to the show. I met Matt Tremont for the first time, and we hit it off. You know, again, the deathmatch wrestling connection, and we started talking. We actually came up with an idea to run an angle to do a match. Matt had an issue where he couldn't do the match. I waited another 300 days to wrestle Matt, and we got the match off the ground. And, you know, once you wrestle somebody, there was an old, when the New York Rangers won the Stanley Cup in 1994, I forget, you know, all the guys that are here with me, we will forever hold hands. We went into battle together. We will forever be brothers. I think that applies to deathmatch wrestling with the guys that you bleed with, because there's nothing like trusting a human being to do the kind of things that we do. So you got to have respect, trust, and honor. And in deathmatch wrestling, so much more so because of what we're doing.
Right.
And Matt earned my trust. Matt earned my respect. And him and his wife are family to my wife and my kids. They call him Uncle Matt. So, you know, Matt Tremont is a guy that I hold in the highest of regard. You know, at this time last year, I was getting ready to fight for the H2O title. And I'll say this, winning that championship last June, I won it on June 20th, and it aired on July 3rd on IWTV. Winning that championship was like basically one of the catalysts to better myself as a human being. At that point, when I knew that I was up to fight for the title, I got into like my old boxing regime. I started training heavily. And then when I won the title, I was informed that my first defense would be against my trainer, Homicide, who is known as one of the best cardio wrestlers of all time. So I stepped up my game and lost 17 pounds in 28 days.
Wow.
To wrestle that match. And it's a regimen that I've kept up to this day. I weigh less now than I did in high school, and I'm much stronger now than I was in high school, which is insane to believe that at almost 45 years old I can say that, but it's the truth. Wow. And that in part is to how I feel about H2O as a brand, as a company. You know, at my last match, you were there with Anthrax. I had an H2O carpet strip, you know, contraption. I've made an H2O cut can board. Yeah. You know,
I was there watching that going on.
I love the company. I love the direction of the company. And I go back to how I was trained, and mentioning the doghouse once again. I'd be remiss not to. It was a place like a small, dark, sweaty, no air conditioner in the winter, and you're just learning and sweating and training hours on end. And that's how I came up, and that's how Matt teaches a lot of these guys. And you know, from the Marcus Mathers and the Declan Grants, who was also trained by Homicide. That's my boy right there, Declan Grant. To Austin Luke, to Ryan Redfield, to Gigi Everson, to the tag team champions, Baldini and Ross. Man, there's so many, to Anthrax. So many fucking guys that I could go on and, you know, Stretch, Alex Stretch. I haven't forgotten you, Stretch. We got to do that. It just means the world to still be in that kind of environment, imparting knowledge and just sitting down telling stories to some of these younger guys that they appreciate. And it means a lot to still be valued at this point in my career. I do feel that I have a lot left to give. And every time that I go out there, I give 110%. I feel like I deliver. I feel like I'm still over with the fans. And I hope that H2O and LowLife Louie are together for a long time.
I love it. And those kids appreciate the hell out of you guys. Like I just even having conversations with them, even off air. Like it's just so great and to like see where their minds at with you guys and the appreciation. And then I hear even from other promoters chatting with these kids and they're like, oh my God, Tiff, like they're so humble. I'm like, they are. Like I can't believe a lot of them like 18 to 22 years old and like where are they gonna be in the next couple of years? It's nuts. Like I'm so glad that I was able to find H2O because it's been like a godsend in my opinion.
Like my wife just said, it's our favorite place. It's my family's favorite place. You know, it's a Great Adventure and H2O are two favorite places on earth.
That's always fun. Excuse me. HP in the chat says, "I love the monitor on a stick you made for one of Sean Henderson's shows."
I've done it more than once. Believe it or not. One of the last matches I did in New York was in Long Island, was against Matt Tremont. That one's on YouTube. Check that one out. Matt Tremont, LowLife Louie, USA Pro.
Okay.
And that's when we used the monitor on the stick for the first time. And the shot that Matt gives me is so brutal that it's a must see. Mm-hmm. The monitor shatters into like 1,000 pieces. It's so brutal. The one where I wrestled Matt. And then I actually did it again against Mance Warner at the Nick Gage Invitational last November. And that, again, if you haven't watched that match, that's a match to behold right there. There's blood squirting out of 2 holes in the back of my head during. Oh. And then Mance caves in a 32-inch monitor on a stick on my head. And I actually kick out at 2 and do my comeback. Somebody made a GIF or a meme, and I'm going to see if I can find it and share it with you.
Yes, please.
In slow-mo going, as I'm pouring everywhere. It's good stuff. But yeah, I came up with the monitor on a stick thanks to our good friend who is no longer with us, Danny Havoc. Yeah. He always brought out the inventive side in me because he was so inventive, and he would draw out stuff on paper and make all this stuff, and I would go on to use my brain, and even though we differed in a lot of ideas, he brought the creativity in me, and a couple of the moves that I still use to this day, I used in my only encounter with Danny Havoc in the ring, and I still keep them in my arsenal to this day. And he always said, he's like, you have a knack for using technology, because I was used to getting the computers and the VCRs broken over my head. So as it became harder and harder to find VCRs and those Nintendos and PlayStations, I moved on to computer monitors.
I love it. HB says, love Danny Havoc. Yes, rest in peace. It's so important over, and I love that they have it up at H2O all the time, and I love even the tributes that people play to him during the matches. Like, you just see it. Even the kids that have spent like lives with him and stuff. It's a great thing. But since we brought this up, like Danny Havoc and Tremont, so you've worked some crazy legends, okay? So again, Masada, Tremont, Danny Havoc, Arcadia, Terry Funk, so many, right? So let's talk about what that means to you and who is still on your bucket list.
Oh, man. Like I said, Terry Funk knocked out the tooth. I'll never fix the tooth. That'll be I think one of the lasting legacies that I leave behind. I'm a guy who wrestled not just in my generation. I wrestled almost every guy in my generation, which was Balls Mahoney, Axel Rotten, Ian Rotten, New Jack, God rest his soul, another one. Axel, Balls, and Jack, 3 of my favorite human beings in the world, are no longer with us. And, I hope they all rest in peace. Those were pioneers and true legends of the game. I've wrestled the Sandman. I've wrestled Norman Smiley. I actually hold a pinfall victory over Norman Smiley, who was the WCW Hardcore Champion and Tag Team Champion. I wrestled with Spike Dudley, Raven. I teamed with Tommy Dreamer. I wrestled Danny Doring. I teamed in a 10-man tag team match with Dusty Rhodes. I've been pretty lucky, man. But I've been blessed. Again, wrestling has blessed me. It's made all my dreams come true. Bucket list. There's only like one bucket list, and it's not a person. And I'm going to mention this person because they go hand in hand. Tony Myers. I got a chance to work with him at H2O, FMW Leather.
Mhm.
He works hand in hand with Onita. And great guy, one of the best human beings walking this earth today. Tony Myers, big shout out to him. That match was fun, and that match was, to me, that match was as close to Japan as I'll ever get. That is the bucket list item. Japan, wrestling in Japan, wrestling Abdullah Kobayashi in Japan is the ultimate bucket list item in a Kenzan match.
Ooh.
Because there's the video of him that's viral of him getting the Kenzans removed after Nick Gage pounded them into his head with the steel chair. And then after I won the H2O King of the No Ring, I had a Kenzan embedded in my skull. And I actually I'll send you the video. I don't know if you've ever seen it.
Send me, yeah.
I actually sit there like I'm waiting for the bus as they're removing a Kenzan from my head. And I've heard from, other wrestlers that some wrestlers have cried and whined and bitched when getting the Kenzan removed from their head. I looked like I was waiting for the bus. Like I was waiting for the sprint to be served. The LowLife Louie. Listen, I am not an athletic human being by any stretch of the imagination. I am nowhere near coordinated. I'm clumsy. I'm overweight. But there's one thing that my threshold for pain is stupid.
I watch I've seen even Akira with all the thumbtacks in his head. I think it was Paragon that they showed the video of them pulling them all out of his head. As much as I love the deathmatch wrestling, I still cringe with certain things. So
I love it.
It's just gonna be one of those things.
I with my eyes closed.
Yeah, I believe that. I definitely believe that. Some things I can't. I have to turn my head. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
It's been 18 years, and the first match I took her to when we were just friends was a death match I did in New York, and I told her, I said, "This is what I do. This is the norm. This is my life. This will never go away." And I was prophetic in that. It never went away. I'm still doing it.
And here we are. So what's your favorite part of deathmatch wrestling?
Whew. Oh, the fans, man. Without the fans, there is no deathmatch wrestling. There is no me. There is no anything.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. That's brotherhood. That's wrestling as a whole. That's the beauty of wrestling as a whole. The camaraderie, the brotherhood, the fact that you create bonds that you hold on to near and dear for life, basically, with some of these guys. So, it's amazing to me that the brotherhood, the locker rooms, the deathmatch locker rooms are some of the best locker rooms I've ever been in my entire life. But but again, the fans, if it wasn't for those fucking fans screaming their heads off, people like you that are giving us a platform and that support and advocate for what we do. And you're amazing, and I thank you for that.
Thank you.
Guys like Joe Beisler, Mike Althouse, Mittens, Captain Dave, people like that, TJ and friends, people like that go to every show, that support us, that are there, they buy merch, they chant, they scream, they yell. It's those fans that I still go out there and bleed for. I love them all. At every show, I make it a point to, say hello, to take pictures, to talk to them. Man, they're amazing, and what I do is for them.
Definitely. Oh, it's so funny. Captain Dave just popped into the chat. Shout out to you. So, what's up? That's so funny. It's I guess his ears were burning that he popped in.
Captain Dave, man. He was missed for a long time. He's like a staple at these shows. So not seeing him for a long time due to the restrictions was when you lose fans like that, it's a blow. And I mentioned winning the H2O title. The one regret that I have, and that night was magical. For the first time, when I won the Survival of the Sickest, the On Point Wrestling Survival of the Sickest, the first one,
Mm-hmm.
My son was with me. When I won the King of the No Ring, my son and my wife were with me. But when I won the H2O title, my whole family was with me. I actually had the title to my daughter in the ring, so she could hold it, so she could be there, because she had never been part of the other two moments.
Right.
But where were we going? I forget. This is we're getting hit.
We're talking about Captain Dave. So
when we wrestled, when I won the title, the restriction was 50 people in the building. So I won the title and the fucking place exploded. It was loud as hell. It was emotional. But I wish that I could have done that in
A bigger
a
crowd.
non-restricted, non-masked, all-out fucking crowd. Excuse my language.
No, you're
all-out
good.
crowd. That's like the one regret that I have. That
Yeah.
everything through my title reign was still COVID and still restricted. I may be too old to win a title. I don't feel like I need a championship to get over. That's, again, there's one thing I'm going to say, and if I sound like I'm cocky or an asshole, I apologize because that's not the intention. But when I walk out to the ring, people are not sitting on their hands.
Yeah.
I still get that reaction that every wrestler walking through the crowd desires. Their name being chanted. As you can see, I try to get the fans involved.
Mm-hmm.
When I go to hit a guy in the ass, I ask them, where do you want me to hit him? Hulk Hogan, who in my opinion is the greatest showman and pro wrestler of all time, did an interview once, and he said that was what made him stand out at one point. Where, he would punch a guy, and then he would, sell it, but then he would punch a guy the second time and look at the crowd and stick his hand out and involve them into like, hey, cheer or boo.
Yeah.
And then he looked to the other side and put his ear after he knocked the guy down. And as he was coming back, he'd shake the ropes and look around and point at the fans and point at the opponent. And that's something that obviously I not only borrowed, but like blatantly stole from him. But again, that's who we do it for, the fans. So missing out on fans like Captain Dave and all the hardcores during the pandemic, again, that's like my only regret about winning the title that day. I'd love to maybe one day win another title in front of a larger crowd, in front of a lot of people. But again, I love the fans. They're the reason why I still do this.
Yeah, and I feel it's very important, and I talk about that when people ask me, what is it about independent wrestling that I love so much? And I always answer the same thing. It's the intimacy of the independent shows. It's a very different vibe than going to a mainstream. Don't get me wrong, I love my mainstream too. But when it comes to the indie shows, it's more smaller, but you get to interact more as a fan, myself. Like, you get to interact more with people like you. Whether you're a heel, whether you're a face. So it's like, I will love to heckle the heels, and I'd love to, cheer and throw streamers and all that fun stuff. That's what makes it more fun, that you're not going to be able to do like, in like Madison Square Garden where you're in the nosebleed. You can't be throwing streamers all the way up there. It's not going to make it. But these are the things that I love about independent wrestling. I mean, what was it? Papa Jones came at me and started messing with me, talking about my podcast that day in one of his matches. He's like, "Don't go on her podcast." And I was like, "Okay." Like, I was like, "I'll fight you." And then the fans started a Tiff chant, and I started dying. Like, you guys are.
That's amazing. We're there. We're there to entertain and be entertained and have that connection with the fans.
Yeah.
It's funny how you say the intimacy. My favorite story as a fan, my first independent show was a World of Wrestling show, Staten Island, New York.
Mm-hmm.
Main event was a Buddha Singh, who went on to become the late great Balls Mahoney later on, against the Bodyguard for Hire.
Mm-hmm.
The second half of the main event was King Kong Bundy versus Bam Bam Bigelow, and I actually got a chance to shake Bam Bam Bigelow's hand in the wrestling.
That is so cool. Oh my God. I have an autograph by him, and I was like, all my friends like hate me for it. I'm like, yeah, I have his autograph. I was like, that was cool. From the wrestling universe. Like, how cool is that? But do you have any pre-match rituals?
No, I have one and one only, I guess, superstition.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people know this, like the people like you, like we mentioned, Steve Mack earlier, that know me for a long time, know that before I wanted to be a professional wrestler, I wanted to be a soccer player.
Oh.
My mom is from Ecuador, which is in South America, in South America, soccer's like religion. So I grew up watching the World Cup with her. The wrestling comes from my dad, the soccer comes from my mom. When the World Cup took place here in the United States in 1994, I was working part-time with my brother. God rest his soul, he passed away. It sucks when you get to live to a certain age. You see a lot of people die, and that sucks. But anyway, getting back to more positive stuff. So I bought a pair of socks with the mascot for the 1994 World Cup, Scooter the dog. I had those socks in my drawer for many years. I never wore them, and as the day for my professional debut came around, I had no clean clothes. My brother used to do laundry at that time. We had no clean clothes, no nothing. And Mace was at my door. We were ready to take the M train to Myrtle Avenue to go, meet our date with Destiny and get squashed by the 450-pound Tower of Torture in our debut match wearing masks. Mm-hmm. So I had no socks, no gear, no nothing. So I said, fuck it. I'm going to put on the Scooter socks under my sweatpants that I wore to my first match. And I survived the match. And I thought I was going to die in my first match. I literally was scared. Mm-hmm. And like 100 people in the crowd, but it was like the greatest feeling in the world. When Layton stacked me and Mace together and he pinned us, and as the referee hit 3, we let out like this sigh of relief. Oh my God, we're alive. And from then on, I christened those my lucky socks. I've wrestled maybe in my lifetime. I've probably wrestled between 12 and 1,500 matches at this point. I wrestled maybe only 20 without the socks, and those were like either impromptu or matches where like I was either asked, because I was in the crowd, hey man, we're missing a guy, you're LowLife Louie, can you step in? Or as a run-in or something like that. That's the only time that I've never worn those socks. Those socks accompanied me to King of the Death matches, to tournaments. I've almost died twice in those socks, but I still consider them lucky. And I actually had to sew them onto another pair of socks so they'd still survive twice. Because they're like so holy and horrendously like destroyed. Like the dog looks like he's melting. It's not a dog. It's a piece of a soccer ball and a dog ear and like half of a USA jersey. That's all that's left. But I'll probably wear those till they're like the last like bit of elastic and yarn, and that's it.
You'll see all the toes sticking out. I'm done. I'm dead.
They had no feel. The toe was out,
I love that though. See, that's a cool story.
I've seen homeless people with better socks than those, okay? But I'll never get rid of them.
I love that. No, I love that. That's a great story. It's like one of my favorite stories of the podcast now, to be honest with you. I really love it.
When I die.
Okay, I got a fan tweet from our friend Good Cop Bad Cop. So he likes to mess with everybody that comes on my podcast, and he likes to do anagrams, but he couldn't figure out an anagram for your name. So he said this week, he goes, no chance of an anagram this week, but as LowLife Louie contains the letters E-I-E-I-O, what is your go-to McDonald's order?
I'm fat. Sometimes very frugal because not by choice but by necessity. Like when you're paying a very large mortgage and $380 a month in transportation just for the privilege of getting to work, it's tough. And I try to take care of my wife and kids as best as I can. And as I told you, early in the interview, my wife just walked in from work. She works for the Board of Elections, works fucking at this time of year during election time from like early May to like the end of June, and from the end of September to mid-November, she works 12, 15-hour days, 6, sometimes 7 days a week. And we do it all to provide. If we had no kids, we'd probably be like living in a fucking refrigerator box outside, make life easy. But, we try hard. But for me, McDonald's is like, it's like a comfort food. Mm-hmm. I love the Big Mac. But like, bills come first. So if I'm going to fucking go to McDonald's, I'm going to get 3 of the $2 McDoubles and the 10-piece nuggets. And I'm going to eat all of them.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay. I have an infamous question that I ask everybody that comes on to this podcast. What's the craziest thing a fan's done to get your attention?
Oh, man. Pro Wrestling 1999. Eddie, who was actually a student at the school, dressed up as me for Halloween.
Oh wow, that's cool. That's
And
cool.
I thought that was the coolest fucking thing. He wrestled as Eddie Barrio. I don't think he lasted long in the business, but he came to a show in October. It was October 28th. He came dressed as LowLife Louie to the show. It was unbelievable. And then there was one time I wrestled Ian Rotten, again, a deathmatch legend and pioneer, and a shout out to him. One of my inspirations in life was Ian Rotten. And I wrestled Ian Rotten, Bayonne, New Jersey. I actually pinned him that day. A fan had a cup, an empty cup of soda. I was bleeding so much as Ian was beating me up outside the ring. As I was bleeding through the crowd, like around the guardrail, the fan put this cup next to me and like dipped my head in it and it smeared it with blood, which now is probably like the biggest no-no in the world. But back in 2000, who cares? The fan sought me out and asked me to sign it. You know, like where my bloody head print was on the cup.
Oh wow.
I would hope to this day that he still has it. That would be amazing. But yeah, you know, that was cool, man. And just like I said, just the fans, man, I never thought in my life that I'd see people wearing my ugly face on a t-shirt. Yet here we are, and there's fans at these shows wearing LowLife Louie t-shirts. So it's humbling. It's amazing and it's humbling because I never thought something like that would happen to a kid like me. And is like, I think that's my ultimate lottery right there. Like I was able to do something that I dreamt of as a kid when I saw Hulk Hogan on his own t-shirt. And I'm like, I wonder if that'll ever happen to me. And now I look into the crowd and there's people wearing me on a t-shirt. So that's pretty cool.
That's
and
awesome.
To whatever fan is wearing a LowLife Louie shirt, a huge thank you. I love you, man.
It's so cool. It's so cool. I love seeing that. Like when I walk in and I see like certain shirts of certain wrestlers, like a whole bunch of them. Like it's a really cool sight to see. And there's like all the little things, even like you said that like at the cup. Like I have like a plastic chain that when John Wayne Murdoch threw Akira into me, and he had the plastic chain in Akira's mouth, but because he threw him into me, and it was the most funny because he knocked me into the chair. That was the funniest thing. So I have it. I love it. See, these are the moments that me as a fan that I appreciate, that I just love it. Like, I mean, Marcus like got thrown into me at the Sean Henderson show, and I'm like, yep, here we go. I was like, that's my boy. I was like, pretty much, I'm like, he's being thrown into me. This is the fun things about independent wrestling that I love very much. So, what's some things you like to do when you're not in the squared circle?
Just like I said when we started.
Oh, so what's the meal? Like, what's the go-to meal that like everybody wants to eat?
I'm a goddamn Latino, man. Fried pork and rice and beans, yo. If I ever am sitting on death row, my final meal, I would want my mother's fried pork chops and rice and beans with 5 Four Locos so I don't feel the electrocution. That'll be my final.
I'm totally hungry right now, just so you know. So it's like when I hang up, I'm gonna go eat after this podcast.
Yes.
So. I love it. Okay.
It's fair now because I was eating as we're doing this.
I know. Like, I guess I should have got some food over there or whatever. But okay, so I have 2 final questions for you. If you guys have any questions, drop them in the chat. So like I want to leave this like this. So what do you want your legacy to be?
That's a good question, and there's only one answer to that. I want to be remembered. I saw a meme a long time ago, and I shared it with friends and coworkers and everybody. It goes like this: one day, you'll only be a memory. Make sure you're a good one for whoever was around you. And I live by that. I try to be the best human being possible to everybody around me. So when I'm dead and gone, people say, oh shit, that LowLife Louie was a nice guy, man. He was a good dude. That's all I want. That's all I want to be remembered as, a good guy. A guy who was honest, who was fair, who never cheated anybody, who never held anybody up for money, who never asked for more than he deserved, who only wanted an opportunity, who gave it his 120% every time he walked through that curtain, who never, took a shortcut during a match, and by that I mean never mailed a match in, who did everything he could to better the business that he loved. I want to be remembered as a, good family man. Marriage and family life is not the easiest thing in the world, and I try my best at it every day. It is the other reason why I live and breathe. And I want to be remembered by my wife and kids as a good father, because, like I said when we started the interview, I don't have that. My mom, I'm a mama's boy at heart because my mom was mom and dad. So I never had that as a dad. So I want to be remembered as a good dad. But most importantly, like I said, to the fans, to the wrestling people, to the public, I want to be remembered as a guy who was always approachable, nice, honest, fair, just a simple living, simple acting. Just let me have a good time when I'm around my fans. Let me drink my alcohol. Let me hang out. Let me enjoy life, because at the end of the day, life is 75 to 80% harsh. It's bills. It's hard work. It's you're sick. You're tired. You're cranky. You owe the IRS $6,000. That's a shoot. It's rough. Life is rough.
Yeah.
And those moments of levity, those moments of happiness that we have when we're like gathered around our family, and this is like this is another shoot. Like I'm waiting for my I wait for my wife, but even when she works late, I wait for my wife. So the one thing we do as a family is have dinner. We always try to keep that. A lot of that has been lost in these generations now with the social media and stuff like that. And kids are on their phones, lie, but we keep at least as a family and do it old school and everybody at the table together as much as we can, obviously, because with work sometimes when that's not possible when you're working until 9 o'clock at night. Yeah. But again, I want to be remembered as a good family man, a good husband, a decent provider, and to those fans, I want to be remembered as the nicest guy that you could ever approach. And to the boys in the back, whether you came before me, with me, or after me, I want to be remembered as that guy who had no heat with nobody, and that guy who tried to love everybody and try to be good to everybody and do good for everybody.
I love that. So even again, I always thank people as a fan, that it's I appreciate what you guys do, because it's also my scapegoat for my illness that I live with, and that's why I do the podcast thing, because it's my escape, and me going to wrestling, it's my escape, and I don't think about the pain that I live in every day. But what you guys do to entertain us, from the bottom of my heart, and I'm sure the fans out there appreciate it. So it's I can't thank you guys enough for everything that you do for us. So you bleed, sweat, and all that stuff. You guys bust your ass and injuries and all that stuff like that. Definitely thank you for what you do.
Thank you guys for being there. We wouldn't be. I don't think I'd be getting light tubes broken over my head if nobody was watching.
Yo, deathmatch fans are serious fans. It's a definitely different experience if you just go to regular or the PG shows for the kiddies, and then those deathmatch fans. It's some serious business. It's scary sometimes. So it's a lot. But even I love all the deathmatch wrestlers. I've had these conversations with Alex Cologne. I've had it with Orin Veidt and John Wayne Murdoch and all these guys, and we've had these conversations, and they're the nicest guys, and I love it. And a lot of people look at it oh, they're scary, but they're nicest people. I feel and all the wrestlers say it too. The deathmatch wrestlers are the nicest people that you could ever have a conversation with. It's great. So if you guys are afraid, don't be afraid.
Exactly. And again, that's what I want to be remembered as, to the fans, to the public. Just this nice, approachable, regular dude. Just because I go out there and I bleed and I, get a Kenzal stuck in my head, or I have a gusset plate into another guy's head, I'm just a regular dude. I like my alcohol. Yeah. I like my time off, I like to sit down and chill and be at shows and unwind, man.
Hey, and if you guys are afraid, like, dude, like, go up, go have a conversation with it. Like, I had Casanova Valentine sitting with me and my best friend Brad, drinking, hanging out with us while we were at H2O going on with the 44OH happening. We were just like hanging out with him. Like, those are just the best. Like,
Casanova's amazing. I love him.
he's great. Another guy that I've had on the podcast, and oh, he's great. I mean, these name drops, like, again, I love all you guys. You guys have like no idea. Maybe you do know, but I really love you. So let's end this with one final question. I asked everybody this, and I think it's great. To all inspiring and amateur wrestlers out there, what's a piece of advice that you would give them?
Oh, that's a great question, and and my son is right next to me, so it's great that you learn the right way. My dog's barking. She's upset at me. I don't know why. I haven't given her some bacon.
You didn't give her some food. That's why.
Goddamn spoiled. Learn the right way. I sit here in front of you, talking to you about professional wrestling, still being able to wrestle, having wrestled the people that I have, having the trajectory that I have because of how I was trained. That's why when I said it at the beginning, my hat's off, and my level of respect, my love, my admiration, and my eternal debt and gratitude to Homicide, because a lot of the guys that he took under his wing are still wrestling and still active because they were trained the right way, with all the right values, the right lessons, the right, he instilled in us the right way to do business, the right way to behave, the right attitude to have for the business. And he also trained us to be tough and trained us how to defend ourselves if the situation required it. He did a lot for a lot of people, man. He is by far the greatest trainer you could ever encounter in this business, in my opinion. And again, I'd put that up against anybody. Maybe somebody has trained bigger names or whatever the case may be, but pound for pound, you're not going to find a better wrestler or a better trainer than Homicide, and that's a shoot. And that's the reason why I still sit here today, and that's the reason why I still can impart some knowledge to some of these younger guys, because I learned the right way. I trained the right way. I came up the right way. Nothing was handed to me. I'm not second generation. I worked hard. I could have worked a lot harder, I'm not going to lie, but that's self-inflicted and the laziness of youth and stupidity. Because if I would have gotten myself in the shape that I am now 15, 20 years ago, I would have probably done a lot better for myself. But that's neither here nor there. That's just a fact of life. You can't change the past. You can only better the future. So I continue to better myself. But again, I wouldn't have that opportunity if I didn't have the proper base, the proper training, the proper fundamentals. So to any young up-and-coming wrestler, my son included, my son sits there and he wants to wrestle, and he gets in the ring and he bangs around a little bit here and there. Learn the right way. H2O, Matt Tremont, Preacher, Mike Quest, Mike Keener. All these guys are doing a phenomenal job with these young students. And guys like Homicide, Danny Cage at the Monster Factory. These are reputable schools. I don't know if House of Glory is still running, but goddamn, they had some great talent coming out of House of Glory, and that was Amazing Red and Brian Excel out in Brooklyn. I don't know what happened, if they closed down after the pandemic. I don't know. I haven't heard of them running any shows or anything.
Yeah, they're not running any shows. They're not running any shows, but they are training, I know. So they've just been focusing on the training right now.
That's another
great school.
Another great school, to learn out of. NYWC for a long time. Mike Whipwreck.
Yeah.
He was training guys, and he trained a lot of big-time guys. So learn the right way. Wherever you decide to go, make sure you're not getting conned by a guy who was a 40-miler, 5-year vet, that his biggest claim to fame is, jumping off a fucking, two-step stool ladder into a pool. You want to get trained by somebody somewhat reputable in a right place at the right, with the right skill set to teach them. That's why H2O was so great. You have a variety of, like I said, I just mentioned all the trainers, Tremont Quest, Preacher, Keener. They can all teach you a variety of things. They've been around various stages of the business. Keener is one of the most accomplished refs in the industry. ECW, he's worked with every huge name in the world. All these guys can teach you the right way, and that's why H2O is so great. But again, I mentioned all these other great schools as well, and sometimes you can't get to like H2O. Sometimes you can't get to the Monster Factory or the House of Glory. So learn. Do your due diligence. Find a reputable place to learn. My boy Pablo Marquez out in Florida, another great guy who trains a lot of great workers. Just find somewhere reputable. And again, if you want to do this, you're going to sacrifice a lot in your life. And if you really have the heart and the determination, it's going to come to you. And you'll be willing to sacrifice date nights and proms and all that. You're going to put all that on the back burner, and you're going to learn, and you're going to train, and you're going to eat, sleep, breathe, and eat wrestling. And that's the only way that you're going to be able to succeed and make it in this business. Reputable training, proper training. Before you can say, I'm a deathmatch wrestler. No, go fucking train and learn how to wrestle.
Yep.
Because we're all wrestlers first. And again, I said that I consider myself a deathmatch wrestler first, but I learned how to wrestle first.
Right.
And that's tantamount. Number one.
Yeah.
Learn how to wrestle first before anything else. Everything else will fall into place. You just gotta get, like I said, the right training. There's nothing, and I'm living proof. Nothing beats proper training.
Yeah. Alex Colon said that on the podcast that was very, very important. That he said that a lot of people just associate like deathmatch wrestlers and deathmatch wrestlers. He goes, but in the end, people forget that we had the training. We all started from the same place. So make sure you learn your fundamentals. So pretty much. But let's talk about H2O because I know we got some shows coming up. I have some photos here for you guys. So there's a lot coming up the next couple of weekends. I'm going to be there. I'll be doing backstage stuff for you guys, so you guys can look out for more videos on the No Hold Barred network for the indie talks that I'll be there interviewing people. So maybe me and Louie will have some Four Locos together or something for the podcast. But so we have
maybe some regular beer, and I'm about to barbecue a dog.
Oh, okay. That sounds good to me. But yeah, so this Saturday we have No One Is Safe. So I think that's at 3:00. I think doors open at 2:30. So they're raising money for Anthrax, who I'm actually going to be interviewing this Friday. So we're going to break down the card for you guys, me and Anthrax, this Friday. So make sure you stay tuned for the whole.
I haven't been officially announced for that show. When it was announced, I was one of the first guys who threw his name in the hat. If anybody has their testicles on right, I challenge anybody to a match, whether it be regular or hardcore, on the Anthrax No One Is Safe show. If anybody has the balls, I'll be there. I'll be there drinking. So come at me.
Ooh. Okay, well, you had it here, guys. We're going to clip this. We're going to post this. Damn, who's going to who's going to answer this challenge? I like it. Ooh, okay. All right. So then we also have Fan Appreciation Night. That's after, what time is that? That's at 8:00. The show? Yes, 8:00. So again, I'll be at both these shows, guys. So you are going to wrestle my boy, Marcus Matters. Oh, boy.
I want you to underline the word wrestle because, again, this is one of those rare opportunities that I'm going to take, and I'm going to show the wrestling populace, Jim Cornette, where you at, that I can wrestle. And a lot of people don't realize that about me. I can wrestle. And Marcus Mathers, I've tangled with his dad, Mark Angel. It's no secret that Mark Angel's Marcus Mathers' dad. Mark Angel's one of my he's one of my frenemies, if you want to use one of those terms. I love the guy outside the ring, one of the nicest guys. But in the ring, I've had nothing but problems and conflicts with the motherfucker. So it's always fun to work Mark Angel. Always fun to battle with him. So I'm going to see if his son has Hopefully his son has half the testicles that Mark Angel has.
Ooh.
And if he does, it's going to be a great war and a good fight. But I'm going to leave the barbed wire and the bullshit at home
Ooh.
for that match. And I'm gonna start stretching and testing because, like I said, I can still go at my age. I can still go.
Ooh.
And this kid has all the potential in the world to be a superstar. And this is gonna be a good one. This is one of those type of matches that I live for. To be in there with a younger guy to help him in a way where he hasn't wrestled the guy like with my style, and he can only benefit from that, and I can benefit from that also by trying to keep up with a younger, faster, more athletic, more streamlined guy. So it's going to be a fun match. A clash of styles.
Yeah.
In the best sense of the word.
I love it. I'm really excited for this. And by the way, shout out Nolan Edward is in the chat. He goes, "Fuck yeah, Louie." And Anthrax is in the chat. He said, "Thank you, Louie." So I'm really looking forward to it.
Nolan Edward.
Uh-oh.
I'm looking at you, kid.
Oh.
That's all I'm gonna say.
Oh. Oh, is this happening?
Listen, it's not booked anywhere, but I'd be honored to work Nolan Edwards. That's one of those guys that is the future of deathmatch wrestling. It's, in my opinion, Alex Colon. He's been around for a long time, but he has a lot of years left, man. Alex Colon, Jimmy Lloyd, Schlack, Oren Veidt, Atticus Kogar. That motherfucker brought the best out of me. And again, that's a young kid like that, and I could be that guy's dad because my age and his age. And he brought out the best of me, and I kept up with that little motherfucker. But Nolan Edward, he has all the tools. He's one of those guys that's the future deathmatch. But the future always runs into the wall of the past, my brother.
Oh, shit. I'm for it. And Marcus Matters is in the chat. He says it's time to do this. Oof. Oof. This is what I live for. When you guys come into my chat, I love it. Thank you. You guys are awesome. Oh, boy. You have any words for Marcus Matters now?
You know what the sad part is? And this is where I'm going to go get depressed and drink more alcohol. I could be these guys' father, age-wise. That's how old I am.
I feel it, though. I feel you. I feel like I love these kids so much. And I'm like, oh, my God. I was like, so it's like Marcus, we've had this conversation. It's like I look at him, he's talking about like prom, and I'm like, oh, my God. I was like, this is
I've known Marcus Mathers before he grew hair in his armpits, man. Following his dad around at Outpoint shows. When I had my little like outside and like run around the ring and look at Marcus now, and my son is a couple of years younger, but he's not going to be far behind down the road. So it's amazing to see these kids grow up and actually follow their dreams. It's amazing.
Yeah, no, it's great. I love it. I mean, you guys are great. Like, I love you all. But, oh, my God. That's why, like I said, guys, like, make sure, again, we got some great shows at H2O. Make sure you are following IWTV. I know you can get a code using the H2O. It's Hustle. You get 5 days free to watch these shows. So definitely, like, check it out. And then we got Deathiversary coming up next Saturday. This is huge. This is a huge show that I'm really looking forward to. Like,
it's H2O versus 440. The titles are on the line. I hope you're there because I'll be.
Oh, I'm there.
I'll be in the crowd, acting the fool.
Oh well, you can sit with me. I don't know. It's not announced yet, but I'm gonna drop it. But I sponsored the kids match, the scramble match. Just so you guys know, like, I got so hyped for this match. I really believe that is going to be the scramble match of 2021. So when I saw all these kids, Austin Luke's coming on the podcast tomorrow, guys. So definitely tune in tomorrow with me and Austin Luke chatting. So the only one that I haven't interviewed yet, which I will get him on, is Reed Walker. But everybody on that scramble match, I'm so excited for. I love everybody, and everybody's got their unique way about them. So I'm really looking forward that this is going to be the scramble match of 2021, in my opinion. So yeah, I sponsored it because I love you guys very much. So anyway, Wilbert's in the chat. He says, "What's up, Louie?" David Russell's, he said, "True Louie." So
Man, David Russell, one of those guys, diehard fan, love him to death, man. He's there all the time. Nothing but love for David C. Russell, man.
yeah, definitely. Like,
and Austin Luke, I'm waving at you too, kid.
oh, Mark Leslie, he says, "Love Louie, no holds barred network, getting the scoops." Hey, I try, okay? Shh. And he said, "Call him Edwards and he'll fight you." Oh, Nolan Edwards, yes, because it's Nolan Edward. We've had him on the podcast too. Love him to death. Yeah, so you can't call him Nolan Edwards. But yeah, if Louie, I guess, if you want to piss him off to get into a match, call him Nolan Edwards. I can't. And April says, "Louie over here beating the kids up." To be like Shane Belham or something, like.
Teaching, not being.
There you go. That's it. I love it. So, tell everybody where like they can find you, like,
I got somebody. Does it have to have balls or could it be a snatch?
Oh.
Wait a minute.
What's going on here?
I think that's either one or two people. That's either Kennedy Copeland or Mickey Knuckles.
Ooh.
No, I'm open. But listen, I'll fight anybody. Man, woman, dog, beast, homeless guy in Penn Station and Jesus. I fight them every morning, trying to get out of. Listen. I may do deathmatch wrestling and do this and that, but getting out of Penn Station at 5:20 in the a.m. every day and walking a mile to work is tougher than anything I've been through on IWTV, brother.
Ooh, I love it. Oh, and Nolan said, "Louie, let's do it." Oh,
Anytime. Anytime.
I love it. There's another question in the chat, then we're gonna wrap it up, guys. Wilbert says, "Do those forks really hurt going in your head and the skewers?"
Oh man, fudge. All right, I'm gonna. You know what? I'll peel back the fourth and fifth wall. After 24, almost 25 years of getting hit in the head, of having my head busted open in various ways, shapes, and forms, there are spots in my forehead that literally have no feeling. And this is why Anthrax was able to stick the corn cob holder in my head. And literally, does it hurt? Yeah, afterwards. But at that moment, when you're numb, you're getting hit, the adrenaline's pumping. You just forget the pain and you just keep going.
Damn. Ouch. Well, we'll bring cookies or bring Four Locos, guys. If you're gonna go to H2O and you want to see Louie, bring him. I'm trying to help you out here. Bring some Four Locos.
Four Locos, MD 2020, Smirnoff Smash, light beer. It don't matter. Alcohol's alcohol. Alcohol's life. Hey man, haven't any of you guys watched the Ric Flair 30 for 30? Did Ric Flair not break down how much he drank? I want to be like Ric Flair. He's my spirit savior.
I can't. But
I'm the greatest political wrestler of all time.
I love it. I love this. But thank you again for coming on, chatting with us. I'm excited to see what's going to happen. I mean, I'm looking forward. You'll see me this weekend. You'll see me next weekend. So you guys will see footage from backstage. So that'll be fun. So make sure you guys follow the IWTV app and watch all these amazing shows for $10 a month, guys. Can't go wrong with that. But anyway, so again, thank you guys for following the No Holds Barred Network. Make sure you like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Send in tweets. Follow Louie. Give him some love. Bring him some Four Locos, some beers, all that fun stuff. So, but...
Family wave.
Hi, family. Well, thank you guys again for tuning in to the Under the Ropes. Make sure you support independent wrestling. Stay safe, and we will talk to you guys soon. Bye.
Peace.